Good morning. Thank you for joining us today for Dementia, Using GEMS to Uncover Clarity. My name is Jennifer Cardellini. I'm the Director for Consumer Information at Benjamin Rose Institute on Aging and the Co-Project Director for the Administration for Community Living Alzheimer's Disease Programs Initiative Project, expansion of dementia-capable communities within urban and rural settings in Ohio using evidence-based and informed programming. This session is being offered as a part of this Administration for Community Living project. Today's webinar will be recorded. During the webinar, you may submit a question at any time using the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. We have staff monitoring the questions box to convey your questions to our presenter and to answer any technical questions you may have. We are conducting an evaluation of our dementia education sessions as a part of this project. You should have received an email with a link to the pre-session evaluation questionnaire, which also contains further information about the evaluation. If you did not have a chance to complete the pre-session questionnaire, we ask that you please complete this now using the link provided in the chat. By doing so, you are helping others in your community. Your responses and feedback will be used to show the impact of programs like these and to improve the tools and resources provided to individuals living with dementia and the people who support them. I now have the pleasure of introducing our keynote presenter for this morning's presentation, Sally Tomko. With over 38 years of experience, Ms. Tomko has practiced in the ICU, ER, and as a business development specialist for a large physician practice, home care, and hospice agencies. Currently, she is a provider relations manager for Hospice of the Western Reserve, serving on this Dementia Collaborative Committee on Cleveland's West Side. Please join me in welcoming Sally Tomko.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, and I'm very, very thankful to Benjamin Rose for allowing us this opportunity to present here today, and also to all of you that are taking the time today to listen to this presentation. So today I'll be presenting Dementia, Using GEMS to Uncover Clarity. And I'm going to be covering some certain objectives here. So today what I'm going to be doing is defining dementia and identifying 4 types of dementia. We'll also be identifying risk factors for dementia, describing what the GEMS model is, and that's according to Tipa Snow. So maybe some of you have heard of Tipa Snow before, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. We're also going to recognize what the difference is between being a caregiver and a care partner. And I'm also going to explain person-centered care, and we're going to look at demonstrating what the hand-under-hand technique is and how that can be so useful. So let's define dementia. Dementia is a loss of cognitive functioning. It's the ability to think and reason to such an extent that it interferes with a person's daily life and activities. These functions include memory skills, perception, and also visual skills. If you're closely connected to someone with dementia, you'll feel that the name dementia is very appropriate. And oftentimes the person with dementia is fully aware that something is wrong with their mind. However, they have no idea what that something is. Most people realize that with that dementia diagnosis, that most dementias are progressive and permanent. It is important to remember that dementia is a syndrome. It's like living under an umbrella. It's a collection of dementia symptoms. And important notes include to remember that there are 2 parts of the brain that are dying. It cannot be fixed or stopped. It's constantly changing. And it is considered a terminal disease. But then again, so is life. So let's look at some of the brain changes. Understanding the changes in the brain is key, and that should drive our approach to care and working with patients living with dementia. The brain runs everything. There's the limbic system, you may have heard of that, and that's what is responsible for our thrive to survive, or our flight, fright, and fight. The frontal and prefrontal is the last to develop in children, and that's the first to go in persons with dementia. This part of the frontal lobe is responsible for decision-making, perspective, empathy, and impulse. There's 5 ways that the brain is impacted: seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and smelling. Our senses, right? So many people with dementia, they're not going to be able to perceive danger. They may feel an increased need for sugar or salt, and you may experience that yourself. They may constantly be looking for that piece of cake or candy, or you're constantly using that salt shaker. The edges of the peripheral vision starts to deteriorate and slow. There's what we call scuba vision or binocular vision. So as you're all sitting there, what I'd like you to do is kind of make a little binoculars in front of you and kind of look around the room. And you'll notice that your world really shortens, it really closes. You don't have that same peripheral vision. So if we come in and we approach someone with dementia, maybe from behind or from the side and tap on the shoulder, they may not realize it and may startle them. And that's what that scuba vision is. There's also hearing loss increases, and the sensation of temperature changes is very diminished. The brain size is actually reduced by 1/3, and the chemistry within the brain is constantly changing. So what are some of the most common forms of dementia? There's Alzheimer's disease, and there's 2 forms of Alzheimer's disease. There's the familial Alzheimer's disease, and this is known as the early onset or the younger onset of Alzheimer's. And then there's also sporadic Alzheimer's disease, and that's also known many times as late onset. You might hear that more commonly known as that. It is the most common form of dementia, Alzheimer's. It's 40 to 70% of all dementias. It affects as many as 4 million Americans. It's a progressive disease that attacks the brain and results in impaired memory, thinking, and behavior. Symptoms include gradual memory loss, a decline in the ability to perform routine tasks, maybe bathing or dressing, cooking. There's a disconnection to time and place, an impairment of judgment, personality changes, and difficulty in learning, and there's loss of language and visual and communication skills as well. The second is the dementia with Lewy bodies, and this is the second most common. And we see this in about 2 to 20% of all people with dementia. We see more males than females with the Lewy bodies, and 80% of these patients will experience some types of psychosis, and 75% of people with Lewy bodies will also kind of have a Parkinson's feature as well, maybe that shaking or that jerking or the difficulty with walking. It's a combination of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, and patients often, they don't respond to medications. There's a neurodegenerative disorder that's associated with Lewy bodies, found in certain areas of the brain, but patients may have periods where cognition is clearer, alternating with confusing sessions. There also may be psychiatric disturbances, as I mentioned, such as delusions or depressions, maybe, saying, oh gosh, I see George in the corner, or some of those hallucinations with maybe seeing the cat in the room. Another most common form is the vascular dementia. And this is a deterioration of mental capacity that can be caused by multiple strokes or little mini infarcts within the brain, kind of TIAs, you might also hear them termed. The onset can actually be very sudden, and many of these little strokes can occur before you actually start to see the symptoms appear. Vascular dementia can also appear in conjunction with Alzheimer's. It is not reversible or curable, and it represents about 15 to 25% of all dementias. So let's look at the patient population. Currently, there's 5.7 million people with dementia. And this was written maybe about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, so I'm sure that number's even higher by now. And by 2050, 14 million Americans will be diagnosed with dementia. 16.1 million Americans, there's unpaid care yearly for Alzheimer's. And every 65 seconds, Alzheimer's is diagnosed. 1 in 3 seniors dies of Alzheimer's. And in 2019, Alzheimer's and other dementias will cost the nation $290 billion. And by 2050, this could go as high as 1.1 trillion. What this means is that you'll see more and more people diagnosed with some type of dementia, whether as their primary illness or maybe as a comorbidity with other illnesses that they have. And the amount of dementia that you see depends on the age group of the person. So by the time you're over 65 years old, 7% of the population has some form of dementia. For those 80 and up, 30% of that population has some form of dementia. And by the time you get over that wonderful ripe age of 90 and above, 50% of that population has some form of dementia. It's a fast-growing population, as I said, and an average lifetime cost for a person with dementia is $200,000. As I mentioned, there's many, many types of dementia. We talked about the Alzheimer's disease, the vascular dementias, the Lewy body, the frontal temporal, the other dementias. And what I like to point out on this slide, because we did talk about these specifics, is dementia is that all-encompassing umbrella. So many times you'll hear people say, yeah, my grandmother has Alzheimer's or dementia. I don't know which one it is that she has. And people don't realize that dementia is that umbrella with all the different types of dementias underneath it. Sometimes I like to describe it too, and people understand it more because people are real familiar with that autism spectrum disorder, that people are along the spectrum. There's autism, but there's all those various types of autism. And it's very similar when we look at this dementia umbrella. Just to mention, in case you don't see it here, there's also, as I said, there's Parkinson's disease dementia. There's mixed dementia, and that can be various forms of different types of these dementias under the umbrella. There's also Huntington's disease, Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, normal pressure hydrocephalus, and Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, just to name a few other types. So I don't want you to think that these 5 under the umbrella are the only ones, and I'm sure that you are aware of that. So let's look at some risk factors. Advanced age. Estrogen helps us protect against memory loss and low mental functioning. And when women go through menopause, estrogen levels drop, and that can be a woman's protection against dementia. I often pause on this one many times because if you think about it, 1 in 8 women are diagnosed with breast cancer, and many at young ages. And of those women, many, many times, they go on what's called like hormone suppressant type of medications, might be the tamoxifens or things like that. And what that does is that shuts all hormones off, the estrogens, the testosterones and everything else. So I often wonder, and I've tried to look to see if there's any research on women that have been put on this type of therapy when they have breast cancer, since you're shutting off that estrogen even earlier than menopause. What are the effects or connections between that and dementia? Just some thoughts. Genetic factors. A person that has a mother, father, brother, sister with the disease is much more likely to develop it as well. There's been a lot of research done on genes that produce dementia. However, even if a person has the gene, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have dementia, and vice versa. Ethnicity. The African American and Hispanic populations typically have higher rates of vascular disease. And remember, we talked about vascular dementia. So this does create a greater risk for them. Education levels. Research has shown that higher levels of education can help create reserves in brain function. These reserves protect memory loss regardless of the number of plaques that are formed in the brain. Education helps make our brains more adaptable and flexible. Down syndrome, the mild cognitive impairment, the history of stroke, and we talked about that with the vascular dementias. Physical and mental inactivity. And research here, again, has shown that engaging in physical and mental activity has the potential to reduce the risk of dementia. Intellectual activities prove to be the most effective in fighting dementia. But activities such as house cleaning and gardening are the least protective. Activities such as reading, social visits, cultural activities have a big impact on reducing dementia in women. And for men, professional activities have the same effect as leisure activities in women. I wish that wasn't the case because I did a lot of gardening this summer, hoping to get a lot of protection, but I guess that throws that out. An unhealthy lifestyle, and we talk about that. We talk about the smoking, the diets high in unsaturated fats, and all those other things. So always, unhealthy lifestyle always attaches to some sort of diagnosis or disease progression. Head injuries. People have found some form of moderate head injury in their life are more than twice as likely. And we hear about the football players, the soccer players. I can't remember what it was, but I heard a remarkable statistic about football players with all the head injuries and the development of dementia. And I think they're going to find that even more and more now that they have recognized that with all of that with the football and everything. So some other risk factors are brain tumors, kidney failure, liver disease, thyroid disease, deficiency in B12 vitamins, and of course, inheriting the genes for those responsible for Alzheimer's or Huntington's. And sometimes untreated infections, metabolic infections, and substance abuse as well, drugs and alcohol. So next we're going to talk about the GEMS model. And as I hinted a little earlier in the objectives, these are according to Tipa Snow. I think a lot of you are very familiar with Tipa Snow. She, in my heart, is literally the guru on dementia. She's an occupational therapist. She does talks. She's got speaking engagements, blogs. I'll spell her name for you, T-E-E-P-A, Snow. You can look her up on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all the different accounts. She's got newsletters and blogs, and just a world of information. And we'll see a little peek of her in a video that I have a little later on. But what we're going to look at now is her GEMS model. So this GEMS model is different than other dementia models in that it acknowledges everyone's abilities that can change in a moment. Modifying environments, situations, interactions, and expectations will create either positive, supportive situations or result in distress and a sense of failure. So rather than focusing on a person's loss where there is brain change, seeing individuals as precious, unique, and capable encourages a care partnership, and that's the core of this model. So as I go through these GEMs, what I'd like you to do is you'll see each separate GEM and you'll see how it relates to the model. And more or less as I go through these different GEMs, it's more or less a trajectory or can show what can occur with the progression of the disease. So kind of step back and think as I'm reading through these, someone you know, maybe a loved one or a neighbor or someone you care for, and kind of think where do they fit? What GEM are they? And you might get some little hints and clues in being able to interact with them. So the first is the sapphire, true blue, optical cognition, and a healthy brain. My brain is healthy, true blue. If I'm aging normally or distressed, it may be hard for me to find words. I can describe what I'm thinking so you understand. I may talk to myself because I'm giving myself cues and prompts. I can learn new things and change habits, but it takes time and effort. Honoring my choices and preferences when possible is important. I need more time to make decisions. Give me the details and let me think about it before you need an answer. I can remember plans and information, but supports are helpful. I may like specific prompts such as notes, calendars, and reminder calls. Health changes in vision, hearing, balance, coordination, depression, anxiety, pain, or medication may impact my behavior, but my cognitive abilities remain the same. The diamond, clear and sharp, routines and rituals rule. It is important to allow diamonds to feel confident, valued, comfortable, and in control. At this stage, the dementia may not only start to become noticeable to you, but they may feel as if something's not right as well. Like diamonds, they are clear enough to do the things they always have, but are very rigid, struggling to process new information. Diamonds prefer old habits, routines, and familiar surroundings. You may notice that he or she often repeats the same questions, stories, or phrases. Do not correct them in moments of confusion and embrace their many facets. And now may be a good time to go to one of their favorite familiar places, such as a restaurant, park, or ice cream parlor. Emerald, green and on the go, naturally flawed. I am flawed. It's part of being a natural emerald. I tend to be focused on what I want or need in this moment and may not be aware of my own safety or changing abilities. I can chat socially, but I typically miss 1 out of every 4 words and can't accurately follow the meaning in longer conversations. I won't remember the details of our time together, but I will remember how your body language and the tone of your voice made me feel. I may hide or misplace things. I might believe someone's taken them. My brain will make up information to fill in the blanks, which makes you think I'm lying. And if you try to correct me or argue, I might become resentful or suspicious of you. I'm not always rational, but I don't want to be made to feel incompetent. My brain plays tricks on me, taking me to different places sometimes, different times and places in my life. When I'm struggling, I may tell you, I want to go home. Try to provide the help and assistance I need. You must go with my flow, use a positive partner approach, and modify my environment. Amber. Like a particle trapped in amber, I'm caught in a moment of time. Like a particle trapped in amber, I'm caught in a moment of time. It may surprise you to see how I take in the world around me. I may not know you or see you as a whole person. I react to you based on how you look, sound, move, smell, and respond to me. I like to do simple tasks over and over and may need repetitive movements, touch and smell, or I may take and tear items apart. While it may exhaust or frustrate you, it soothes me. I don't recognize danger, so you'll have to safeguard my environment. I'm intolerant to discomfort because my mouth, hands, feet, and genitalia are highly sensitive due to changes in my nervous system. Therefore, activities like eating, taking medication, mouth care, bathing, dressing, and toileting may distress me. Please notice my reaction and stop if I'm resisting. I can't help myself for one or both of us. Be careful because one of us might get emotionally or physically hurt. If this happens, just wait a few minutes. Connect with me. Try a different approach, possibly substituting one area of focus for another. ruby. Deep and strong in colors, others stop seeing what's possible. As the deep red of a ruby masks detail, my obvious losses make my remaining abilities harder to notice. Although my fine motor skills have become limited, remember, I'm able to move and do simple things with my hands. You'll need to anticipate, identify, and respond to all my needs, even though I may not be aware of them. Plan to create a supportive environment, help with the details of my care, and structure my day. Just as a crossing guard directs traffic, you will need to guide my movements and transitions. I can rarely stop or start on my own, and switching gears is a challenge. Move with me first, then use your body to show me what you want me to do next. One step at a time. The hand under hand assistance helps me feel safe and secure and know what to do. Danger is a part of my life due to losses in visual skills, chewing abilities, balance, and coordination. And you can reduce the risks to me, but not eliminate them. I can still have moments of joy and are able to provide what gives me pleasure. Rocking, swaying, humming to music, praying, even dancing may still be among the realms of possibilities. The pearl, hidden within a shell, beautiful moments to behold. While hidden like a pearl in an oyster, I will still have moments when I become alert and responsive. I am near the end of my life. Moments of connection create a sense of wholeness and value between us. Use our time together, not just to provide care, but to comfort and connect with me. To help me complete life well, it's important to honor my personhood when making medical or care decisions. Please don't talk about me as though I'm still not here. I respond best to familiar voices and gentle rhythmic movements. I'm ruled by reflexes, and I will startle easily. My brain is losing its ability to control and heal my body. Be prepared to see me having difficulty breathing and swallowing. My body may no longer desire food and drink as I prepare to leave this life. I may not be able to stop living without permission from you. And your greatest gift at this time in my life is to let me know that it's okay to go. So those are the Tipa Snow gems. And now, as I said, I'd like to move into a section here about the caring agenda and what it's like to be a caregiver or a care partner in working and loving those with dementia. So the caring agenda. When we're caring for a person living with dementia, we must let go of the task and focus on the relationship. Caregivers tend to give care instead of offering care. Caregiving needs to become care partnering. Care partners reduce risk by changing their strategies. Care partners offer care, but they don't insist on providing care. Caregivers tend to give that care instead of offer. Care partners are aware of interpersonal cues that are being given by the person with dementia. A care partner learns not to resist behaviors, but actually use them for cues. By using that cueing, showing, modeling, and pausing, you can become a care partner. We're aware of these cues that we're given, and we can tell when things don't appear to be going right with some of those cues or behaviors that we see. And when there is a problem, we know we can't force a person with dementia to change. As I said before, we must be the one willing to change. We must let go. Don't resist the behaviors. Use them for cues and directives. Change the path, change the focus in working with someone with dementia. As a care partner, don't react or take words personally, but know that they're a sign of frustration or pain on behalf of the person with dementia. Know that they're working with brain failure, not memory failure. And I often point that out because people think that dementias are memory failure. It's brain failure, similar to liver failure, kidney failure, heart failure. It's the failure of the brain. Acknowledge that people living with dementia may not recall facts, but they will remember feelings. Allow time for that person to comprehend what you're saying to them. Sometimes it can take as long as up to 30 seconds or even 2 minutes for them to comprehend what you're trying to say. When a person with dementia resists care, care partners need to just kind of ease off. If the care partner continues to resist, we'll have 2 people working against each other then, right? If we don't back off, they don't. If we don't, they don't, then there's 2 people. Be aware of those cues. Reduce that risk by looking at what's going on and adapting or changing the way that we're doing things. Caregivers see their hands as loving and helpful, but the person with dementia may see them as unwanted, surprised, or forced care. Model the behavior that they want by using motion and gestures, and that can help a person with dementia understand. You'll see more in that hand under hand technique a little later on. Focus on the relationship, as I said before, not the task. I've got to get this sweater on, right? I've got to get them out the door to the doctor. I need to have them eat breakfast this morning. Focus on that relationship. Those other things will happen if we get so steadfast in focusing on just the task. It's sensed by the person with dementia. Say, I'm sorry. This must be hard. Ease off when there's resistance. Remember what I said, they may not remember you, but they remember the feelings, the words. I'm sorry. This must be hard. Care partners tell the person living with dementia what they're about to do and understand the plan may not be comprehended by the person with dementia. Instead of resisting, watch for those cues, do a modeling act to help them. Show them what you're wanting them to do and allow that time for comprehension. Relationships matter. Here's some suggestions on what to say when resistance or emotional response is starting to occur. I'm sorry, I was trying to help. I'm sorry I embarrassed you. I'm sorry I made you angry. I'm sorry I frustrated you. I'm sorry. This is hard, isn't it? When you resist resistance, it leads to increased resistance. There's nothing wrong by taking an uh-oh moment and making it an aha moment. And based on the previous slide, like I said, dementia is brain failure, not a memory problem. So people shouldn't be blamed for having this disease. It's not about the task, as I said, but it's about the relationship. We need to be willing as caregivers, care partners, to be wrong and convey it verbally to them and out loud to your loved one that you were wrong. We need to say this while sounding sincere and with meaning behind it. And if this is done, it allows for an emotional response of the person with dementia to lower. The reason this works is because I'm sorry is a familiar social behavior that is retained. Care partners need to be prepared to be wrong and prepared to say it, as I said out loud, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Oh, this must be so difficult for you. People with dementia are not good at interpreting what you mean. And if excuse me, if you don't say what you mean. So let's look at the hand under hand sensory input. This is a technique that promotes success with practical tasks in addition to supporting dignity and independence in the person living with dementia. I've referred to this hand under hand a couple of times. The reserves and fat and muscle diminish as we age and skin becomes more fragile. And the hand under hand technique reduces the chance of bruising and skin tears during care and provides the person living with dementia a sense of warmth and comfort. Normally when we do this in person, everybody gets up and we all do this together, but I do have a short video here to show the technique. Fantastic. Thank you for showing that. It's a really good video. There's another short video, but one of the things I do want to talk about, and these are the steps for the hand under hand technique. One other thing I want to mention, there's another very short video with Tipa Snow in it. So for those of you who haven't seen her, this hand under hand technique is just so universal. You can use it to assist you getting someone up out of a chair, walking, direct them in a specific area. It helps with feeding, it helps with bathing. You'll see with Tipa, it helps with brushing teeth. It's also very helpful if there needs to be lab draws, and there's so many different things that it's very useful for. So one other short clip with Tipa Snow. There we go. Great. Julie, you can move this forward, if you would please. And again. Perfect. So weren't those great videos? It's a lot more fun though when we're together and we're doing it in person and practicing it. So looking at that technique, you can always find that on YouTube, that hand under hand technique. It's great to practice with. And it's not only just good for working with people with dementia, it's great for anyone who is unbalanced or is weak. It's a great technique to learn. We want to make sure that we combine too, though, remember, with other senses to promote success for the person living with dementia. Taking a person's hand stimulates the eye-hand response. And when someone's hand, when you take their hand, it might trigger them to look at you. And unless a person is looking at you, they may not be able to comprehend anything you say to them or the verbal input you give them. A tip for walking together with the hand under hand, as you're doing it, you can actually just kind of pump your hand against their hand, and maybe in a rhythm, and that also helps too, as well as using some of the other senses. in the hearing and playing music and interaction. As you've heard me say many times throughout these slides, your approach, flexibility, and attitude, your ability to say, I'm sorry, are your greatest assets when supporting people living with dementia. If something's working well, celebrate it. If something isn't working, the right answer will always be for us to take a step back, take a breath, and try something different. Just some final thoughts. As I mentioned, take a step back. Be a good detective. Look for those cues. Try to see it from their side. You might want to reframe the behavior and ask, is there an unmet physical or emotional need that they may have? Provide no judgment. Make sure to support them in any way you can. And remember, it's about us. Again, the resources, Tipa Snow, there's that spelling again, the pearls. And I can take questions at this time.
Thank you so much, Sally. We do have time for a few questions from the audience. Please remember to submit your questions using the questions box in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen if you have questions for Sally and have not yet submitted those. To start out, our first question, why is vascular disease linked with dementia?
Okay, so vascular disease is linked with dementia because a lot of times with the vascular disease, you're developing plaques, like in the arteries and things like that. Vascular disease can occur like in the legs or in the heart or what have you, but it's that clogging of the arteries, and there's arteries in your brain. So those can clog, those can lead to stroke, which can lead to dementia. So that's the connection with the vascular disease. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Another question, how long should I let my loved one think about their options, and how many options should I give them?
Great question. Very good question. It depends on your loved one. They may be at the point that they can be given 1 or 2 options and be able to think about it and comprehend it. And possibly as someone moves along the trajectory, maybe giving options isn't working anymore, and just giving that one option. If we look at it and say, well, today, do you want to wear your red or your green sweater? And maybe someone's able to think about that. And how much time? It depends. They may need that time to process it, to come up with that answer, or they may be using that time and not able to process it whatsoever. So you kind of have to take a look and know where their baseline is at that point for them. I hope that helps.
Thank you. And then our last question, do you have advice for how to prepare my extended family to interact with my loved one with dementia this holiday season?
That's a great question, especially with the holidays coming up. I would say a lot of times education is key, and sometimes it's hard. Some family members can hear it from other family members as to what's going on or what to do or what have you. And sometimes they may need some educational things, an educational booklet, a video. Tipa's got great ones. I know I keep pushing on her because she's got so many of them out there that are out there. But it's, just to be able to prepare them, for the holidays and maybe for that person with dementia, maybe all that rush, all the people, all the 18,000, different side dishes that are on the table can be overwhelming. And try to see how you need to scale that. But talk to them, let them know. Let them know what a typical day is like so that they have some understanding, and then incorporate that into the holiday gathering. I hope that helps as well.
Thank you, Sally. We did have one last question come in, actually 2 more, and I think we have a little bit more time.
Okay.
The first is someone wanted to know if you have other similar trainings or videos, or if any of these presentations are available to the public anywhere else, especially those that might be appropriate for other types of caregivers, particularly caregivers of a spouse.
Right, yeah. As I mentioned, you can go on with Tipa Snow, you can sign up for the blog, the newsletter. Here at Hospice of the Western Reserve as a program provider relations manager, I have several different presentations. We did another one here a couple months ago with Benjamin Rose. We do them in the Cleveland area. If anyone's looking to do it for a group of people, you can always contact Hospice of the Western Reserve, and we can do them. And I believe, Jennifer, this is being taped and going to be put up on YouTube, correct?
That is correct, yes. We will make sure to share this on the Benjamin Rose website, in our resource library, as well as on our YouTube channel.
Wonderful, fantastic.
And then our last question, are there any resources to help young children better understand the changes they might see in family members with dementia?
That is a wonderful question. And I don't have, to be honest, you've got me on this one, because I don't have anything that comes right to mind, a specific book or video or anything like that. I would maybe reach out to the Alzheimer's Association and see. And quite honestly, you have my curiosity very piqued, and I will be looking for that resource as well. I think there might be some books that have been written for school-age children that I've seen before, but I don't have an exact link to give you. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Sally. And I will add that the Dementia Friends program has been adapted by the Ohio Council for Cognitive Health to be delivered towards school-age children. So if you're interested in learning more about Dementia Friends, definitely Sally or myself or the Ohio Council for Cognitive Health could tell you more about that program as well. Well, I think that's all the questions that we have. I want to thank you so much again, Sally, for this very informative presentation. And before we conclude today's webinar, I would like to tell you briefly about BRI Care Consultation. This is a care coaching program that is available for families impacted by dementia in Cuyahoga, Athens, and Washington Counties in Ohio through this Administration for Community Living funded project. So on the screen here is some information about BRI Care Consultation. It is a telephone and email-based care coaching program that assists and supports adults with or at risk for developing dementia, including those with intellectual and developmental disabilities and their family and friend caregivers or other supports. Through this funded project by the Administration for Community Living, individuals can enroll in this program at no cost. Next slide, please. Care consultants really help individuals who participate in this program find and get connected to health and community-based services. They really help them prioritize their concerns using some simple step-by-step action plans that are really tailored and based on the needs of the folks enrolled in the program. They help individuals communicate with their loved ones, family, and friends about care and managing difficult situations and behaviors that may arise. They help them stay in touch with individuals and families so that adjustments can be made as situations change, and assist with getting other family and friends involved, particularly as those situations change. They're really there for you as an emotional support as well as a care partner when overwhelmed or faced with challenges. Next slide, please. These are the delivery sites of this program. As I mentioned, through this grant, this program is free of charge. If you live in Athens County, you can contact the United Seniors of Athens County using the number you see on the screen. In Cuyahoga County, you can contact Welcome House or Benjamin Rose, who is delivering the program under the name We Care Because You Do. And in Washington County, you can contact O'Neill Center. Anywhere you see a star, they are delivering this program to both individuals with dementia as well as individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities with or at risk for developing dementia. Next slide, please. And it looks like that is the end of our BRI Care Consultation slides. We want to thank you so much again for joining us for Dementia Using GEMS to Uncover Clarity. A recording of today's session will be made available at www.benrose.org on the event registration page and in our resource library. We are offering more webinars like this for community organizations and families impacted by dementia each quarter of this ACL project. We hope you will join us for our next webinars in 2022. To stay up to date about our upcoming webinars, please visit our website, www.benrose.org. In the chat, you will see a link to a post-session questionnaire. You will be receiving it via email later today. We ask that you please complete the post-session questionnaire within 1 week following today's session. Your responses and feedback will be used to show the impact of programs like these and to improve the tools and resources provided to individuals living with dementia and the people who support them. I want to thank you again for joining us, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Bye, everyone.